Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of PLAC Legislative Internship Program podcast, funded by the European Union under the support of Democratic Governance Phase 2 program. My name is Agadbe Kelvin. I'm from Benue State. I'm a legislative intern in the 2023 cohort. Today we'll be discussing youth and open parliament, suggestions for the legislature for engaging young people. And to have this conversation with me is my colleague,
Sumaya Dauda Lamurde from Adamawa State.
Amir Mohammed from Jigawa State.
Joseph Udon, Akwa Ibom State.
Uchenna Aja from Ebonyi State.
Great. Welcome, guys. So, Uchenna, what comes to your mind when you hear the term open parliament?
The term open parliament brings certain words to mind. I think about accountability, transparency, and public participation. I feel strongly about these three words because I strongly believe that creating an avenue to continuously engage the people and disseminate information from the legislative is key to creating a good cordial relationship between the legislators and the citizens.
Powerful. So, what are your thoughts on open parliament?
When you say open parliament, I imagine a glass room. In the sense that even if I'm not inside, because we know everybody cannot participate in the parliament, but then a glass is transparent.
Yeah.
That you could see what is happening inside. You could see everything is happening right in your eyes. You can see and you can question whatsoever is happening there.
Interesting. I like the fact that you talked about it's like a mirror you could see through. Joseph, do you think that the ideal Nigerian youth feels alienated around the legislature and the National Assembly? If you think it's yes, why do you think so?
Okay, yes, I will answer the question in two ways. The youth feel alienated, and some youths are not also alienated. Now, let me start from the youths that are not alienated. Now we have young people that are conscious, that are enlightened, that are educated, and they know about the legislature and the processes. They know about legislative governance. They are interested and they have that consciousness, and they contribute meaningfully. They take active parts in the legislative process. But now we have a vast majority of young people that they don't even know. They don't know that they don't know the principles guiding the legislature. They don't know what the legislative governance is all about, and they have this belief that okay, the politicians out there, they are just after going to the office, sharing in the national cake and making their money. So at that point, their interest is not there. They are not aware of what is happening, and as such they feel alienated.
Great. Amil, what are your thoughts around what could be the reason why an ideal Nigerian youth feel alienated from the National Assembly?
So, Kelvin, in addition to what Joseph said concerning the alienation of Nigerian young people, particularly in the National Assembly, my view is actually number one, the issue of, if you look at the demography of the Nigerian youths, particularly participation in the political process in Nigeria is very high, almost 60 to 70%. But if you look at the representatives from the youth side, it's very poor in the National Assembly. So I think with this point, they are actually alienated.
Yeah.
Number two is the issue of using, the language, formal language, or the style the National Assembly is using is actually quite different with what our young people mostly understand based on, the diverse background, the different environments where they live. So I think this is also part of the things that can be seen.
Yeah, so I was going to come to that, Sumaya.
Yeah.
Do you think the language, the conversation, they have the National Assembly, do you think, Sumaya, do you think the ideal Nigerian can comprehend the conversations that go on in the National Assembly?
The thing is, every profession has its jargons, and that is what makes it unique.
Great. So the National Assembly should engage us in the way and the language you understand. Beautiful. So, Joseph, are there current efforts by the National Assembly to engage young people? And if there are, do those efforts have gaps?
Yes, of course, there are efforts by the National Assembly and the Legislature to engage young people. Specifically, I want to mention the Not Too Young to Run Act that was passed in 2018. That was the act of that was an act
Of the National Assembly.
yes, that paves way as in an open way for the young people to participate directly in governance. The act made provision that at 25, you can run for an elected position in Nigeria. So that is
For the Nigerian Parliament.
exactly. And on the other hand, the National Assembly is also partnering with civil society organizations and other groups. For example, now the National Assembly is partnering with the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center to implement the Legislative Internship Program, which runs annually, and of course, which is what we are participating in presently now. So these are the efforts that the National Assembly are making in terms of engaging the young people. And of course, there are gaps. There are gaps because they are not just those points that I mentioned are not just enough. We are looking at an instance where the National Assembly can create or they can make an instrument of law that is able to create some special seat or special slots for the young people. It's not just about reducing the age, but creating these slots for the young people to be able to also have to really participate very much actively.
Something is itching. Yes. He mentioned not too young to rule. But then we are too poor to run.
Oh, great.
An average Nigerian youth cannot afford Nigerian democracy. Trust me, the Nigerian politics, I mean to say, the Nigerian politics is too expensive for a Nigerian youth. We can't afford it. So why not now, talking about the gaps now, if they are slashing the age, why not slash the money? So it will not be as if they are giving us with one hand and collecting it with the other.
Very, very true. Very true.
It's quite nice you mentioned that we are too poor to run. But well, it will not be nice for us to, because of our perceived economic constraints, take a back seat and watch these godfathers or these men who have made the money go into politics without becoming involved. At the end of the day, we'll be the losers. So I think the main aim is, let's raise the consciousness. Once we build up our consciousness to participate in the electoral process, we can now take the next step in actually participating. We have the recent example in the just concluded 2023 general elections in Kwara State. The youngest legislator, a lady, Miss Rukayat Shitu, she's just 26 years old. Immediately she declared interest. Youth groups, the media, NGO, civil society took it up and gave her the needed visibility. That is on one side. We've also seen youths champion the NSAS protest and various other youth-centered projects. So once we've risen our consciousness, we can actually source for support from these godfathers who we share similar interests with, and that will also help us.
Yeah, actually, it's in line with both what Sumaya and Uchenna said. But me, I look at it from the grassroots level. Number one is the issue of party democracy. The lack of quality of it is one of the gaps that young people are not getting tickets to participate in an election, while these legislators are also elected. So party politics should be also based on quality. That is number one. Number two, the lack of issue of using direct communication channels to young people. The National Assembly can use maybe all these modern technologies in engaging with youth population in Nigeria. The third issue is the issue of since you are talking about the issue of they are participating in the National Assembly.
Since you talked about participation, Jerry, what ways do you think, and I want to use us as a prototype right now, what is your thinking around how a Nigerian youth wants to engage the National Assembly? How would you want to engage the National Assembly if you're in this internship? How would you engage the National Assembly? Please.
Okay. First, I would say that one key way of getting involved in the National Assembly is through direct participation. there is so little we can do on the outside, and we can do so much on the inside. So through direct participation, by actually coming out and contesting for these elective positions, for us to have an opportunity to represent our constituencies and our people, that is one. When we get in there, we can be able to push in pro-youth bills, motions, and try to bring up solutions to issues that concern the youth and look for ways to bring in more youth. And last way is through advocacy campaigns. We can always engage in various advocacy schemes, get involved with discussions about political processes, even getting involved in public hearings. The National Assembly organizes public hearings. We can always attend those public hearings, make our inputs, knowing that those inputs are vital to shaping the policy processes. We can also attend citizen town hall meetings that are organized by various committees of the National Assembly in collaboration with the legislators. These are few avenues we can actually make viable inputs, both directly and indirectly, in order to make sure that our interests as youths are protected.
I'm concerned with this participation, the informal participation, because most of what Uchenna mentioned are formal participations, which really need money, because the economy it need money. So there are informal ways that citizens or youth can participate in these legislative processes. When we talk about participation, we should also know that there are some youth that cannot participate on the formal level because the youth has a diverse demographic. So there are those that cannot, there are uneducated youths, you need to consider them as well. So looking at the informal ways now, you can have protests, social media campaigns and all that. Yes, signing petitions. These are cheaper ways we can participate in this process.
Just to kick it off from what you're saying, there's a time we did a Write Your Legislator campaign, and that was for constituents to write to their legislators in the National Assembly around some policy we wanted them to influence and change for us. And you can see that a lot of young people didn't even know how to go about how to get the emails of their legislators. So if we encourage young people to engage in such activity, you know that they'll be begin to get access to the National Assembly and even know how to go around that institution. So we're trying to round up this conversation. I think our deal is to suggest ways in which young people can engage with the National Assembly. So what specific tools are we going to recommend, now for the National Assembly in engaging young people specifically? Okay, I mean you could go.
Okay. For me, actually, there are so many ways, and we'll hear it from all of us. Number one, from my side, is building collaboration between the National Assembly and other, because of the diverse population we have. The National Assembly can use collaboration with other state assembly in forming activities like the one we are doing as an internship or fellowship, so that young people from other areas can take off from the state assemblies we have. Number two is the issue of using influencers, whether our religious leaders or community leaders, putting interest to young people that our local solution will not be solved until you participated in the part of legislative process. Then lastly is the issue of engaging students in their institutions, because what I learned is that these things actually have to be inculcated in the earlier stage, and National Assembly can achieve this using the unions of students or groups we have, so that they can continue the process.
I would also like to take it up from what Amir said about collaboration. I like to mention the National Assembly should enter into a collaboration. Just to make it more specific, we have a National Orientation Agency that is tasked with this issue of enlightenment and orienting the youth. So the National Assembly should also try to enter into partnerships with agencies like the National Orientation Agency in order to reach out to the grassroots, to reach out to various sectors of people, in order to let them know the need for them to get involved in the legislative process. And to achieve this, I want them to do more of targeted messaging. The youth cut across various demographics in terms of age group. Even within the youth, we have various age groups. We have various levels of education. We speak various languages. Our level of understanding differs. So this dissemination of information should also be targeted to the various groups. The mode of reaching these groups should be different. It should be specific to what works for these groups. What works for a certain group might not work for a certain group, so it should be targeted to the group. And also in various languages, when we hear certain things in our dialects, it resonates more with us. So they should think about this, make radio jingles in various languages and try to engage the people. This will actually help to.
So Joseph, what are your thoughts?
Okay, I'll also add to that. You know, young people are driving social change. Young people are championing reforms that are shaping public policy.
So it has to be like what tools are you?
Yes, exactly. Yes,
Okay.
I'm coming to that. And how are they doing this? They are actively engaging with the social media. So we are in in a digitalized age. And of course, if we should want to know, I guess the entire protest actually started in social media, the hashtags, you know. So the social media is quite a broad and big space where the National Assembly can also make use of it. You know, we want to see the National Assembly coming into Twitter space, you know, using the Instagram, using the Facebook, you know, communicating their policies, communicating their reforms, partnering and engaging with youth. You know, because I said there are youth organizations, there are social organizations, and most of them are so much using the social media very well. So if the National Assembly can also adopt this social media to leverage on this, definitely they can reach a wider and a rich audience, and people will really, young people in this case, will really start feeling, oh wow, we are having National Assembly now that are now communicating with us, that are now we now feel their impact of them now at this stage, you know, using that too.
Interesting.
So I want to take us back a little bit.
Yeah.
In the participation. It's important that we as youth, we should note that our participation in these legislative processes now is our right. It's not a privilege. So your decision now to participate should be based on high level of awareness. You are aware that it's my right. I have every right to know what's going on there before I even participate in it. Then talking about the tools, I suggest you should use a tool of inclusivity, because the youth is diverse.
Yeah.
There are women, there are people with disabilities, there are people who are uneducated, they've never passed through formal education. So meet these people at their level of understanding. Involve these people. Go to the local woman. Same way you look for people during your campaign. Use that same method to reach out to them and involve them.
Yeah. I think I'm making you say something.
Yeah, it's concerning participation that she mentioned, which is actually very important at this stage. For example, take yourself as a National Assembly. I think creating a law that validates this issue of participation will be one of the strong tools that National Assembly can use in engaging young people. For instance, it can give maybe a particular percentage, let's say 30%, if there is a law that validates or says that youth or young people must be, you know, part of the National Assembly at certain percentage. I'm quite sure you'll see
there's lots of true. That's very valid. You know, since the National Assembly makes laws, we should also make laws that give opportunities to young people. And just to add and conclude our conversation, I also think that the National Assembly needs to, if possible, have a youth engagement unit, that carry out programs for young people, that bring young people into the National Assembly. If that's coming from the National Assembly, that would be very good. I like the fact you mentioned about social media. It would be nice to have the Senate President host a Twitter space, see him on webinars. You could imagine the level of engagement such an activity in Ghana, and that will give a lot of young people a sense of participation in the process. Thank you so much. It has been quite an interesting conversation with my colleagues. I hope those of you watching and listening are enjoying it. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing your experience and thoughts. PLAC Legislative Internship Program and the podcast are funded by the European Union under the Support for Democratic Governance in Nigeria Phase 2 program. Thank you for joining us, and watch out for more interesting episodes. Bye for now.